Okay, so for some background. So I, female, 42, have been helping my best friend Sharon raise her adopted son since he was little, and I'm starting to think I'm seeing some really concerning stuff that I don't know how to handle. This is probably going to be long, sorry. Sharon adopted Ty from foster care when he was 7. He's 14 now. She aged out of the system herself and always said she wanted to give a kid the family she never had, which honestly made me so proud of her. I'm an elementary school teacher and never had kids of my own, so when Sharon asked for help with Ty, I was like, absolutely yes. I basically became his surrogate aunt, and I love that kid. When Ty was 8, Sharon married Alan, and he brought his son Jake, who was 5 then, 11 now, into the family. Instant blended family situation, which, obviously that's a lot of adjustment for everyone. I've been watching both boys grow up, and I consider them like my nephews. I help with school pickup when Sharon works late, babysit all the time, help with homework, the whole thing. But lately I'm starting to notice some patterns that are making me really uncomfortable, and I don't know if I should speak up or if I'm totally overreacting. So last month I was at their house helping Jake with homework. He's actually really good at school, gets mostly A's. Jake had just finished a section of his math and asked for a quick break to play Switch with Ty in the living room, so I was reviewing the rest of his assignment at the kitchen table. Jake had saved his birthday money for months to buy that thing. Like he was so excited about it, counted his money every week, researched which games he wanted. When I hear Ty getting frustrated with whatever game they're playing, he's getting louder and Jake suggests maybe they take a break or play something else. Ty says he's fine and doesn't need a break. So Jake reaches over to pause the game, I think. And Ty just jerks his arm away really hard and sends the Switch flying off the coffee table. The thing hits their hardwood floor and the screen completely shattered, like totally destroyed. Jake immediately starts crying because obviously this was his Switch that he saved forever to buy. Sharon comes running from the other room and Ty's face, okay, this is where I started feeling weird about the whole thing. At first he looked genuinely upset and was apologizing, but then when Sharon hugged him and said accidents happen, I swear I saw his expression change, like he looked almost satisfied when Sharon wasn't looking at him. But here's the thing that really got me. Sharon tells Jake that he should have been more careful about where he left his things. Even though it wasn't on the floor, it was on their coffee table where they always play games. Then she promises to buy Ty a new game to make up for him feeling bad about it. I'm sitting there like, wait, what? Jake protests that it wasn't his fault, but Sharon just shushes him. And I'm watching Ty's face, and he definitely doesn't look upset anymore when Sharon can't see him. 3 days later, Sharon posts on Facebook about surprising her baby Ty with a brand new Nintendo Switch Pro, with all these heart emojis about how generous and sweet he is for sharing with his stepbrother. I know this sounds totally paranoid, but that really bothered me because, I saw Ty break Jake's Switch. But I figured maybe Sharon was just trying to put a positive spin on an unfortunate situation, you know? But then Jake started coming to my house after school more often. At first, he said he just liked the quiet for homework. But then I started noticing his school assignments were always damaged. Torn pages, mysterious spills, rips in his notebooks. When I asked him about it, he said he was just clumsy. But eventually he broke down crying and told me that Ty would accidentally spill drinks on his homework or tear pages out of notebooks. The worst part is when Jake tries to tell Sharon about it, Ty claims Jake is lying and trying to get him in trouble, and Sharon always believes Ty. Oh, and the lunch money thing. God, this makes me so mad. Jake told me Ty has been taking his lunch money, usually like $5 to $10 at a time. When Jake mentioned it to Sharon, Ty said Jake was making it up. So now Jake just doesn't say anything when his money goes missing. I know I probably should have minded my own business, but I was getting really concerned, so I tried talking to Sharon about it. I was super careful about how I brought it up. Like I mentioned that Jake seemed stressed about homework lately, and maybe there was some sibling rivalry happening. Sharon immediately got defensive and asked what I meant. When I explained about the damaged assignments and what Jake told me, her face just hardened. She said Ty is still adjusting and needs patience. When I tried to mention the lunch money situation, she cut me off and said Jake needs to understand his brother came from bad stuff. I get that. Obviously, Ty has been through horrible things and needs support. But when I suggested maybe family counseling could help everyone adjust better, Sharon said Jake needs to be more understanding of Ty's needs and that some people don't understand how to help kids from hard backgrounds. The whole conversation made me feel like I was being painted as this unsympathetic person who doesn't care about adopted kids or something, which is definitely not true. And Alan, I don't know what's going on with him, but he's become super distant. He spends most of his time in the garage organizing tools and barely talks during family dinners. When I asked if he was okay, he just said keeping the peace and changed the subject. But I've noticed he's working late way more often and always looks exhausted. Also, Sharon's Instagram is all about Ty's achievements at school and his therapy progress and how proud she is of him, which is great, but she never mentions Jake's excellent grades or these amazing comic strips he's been working on for months. Last week, Ty told Sharon that Jake had been mean to him at school, and Sharon grounded Jake from his art supplies for a week to think about kindness. Jake told me later that Ty was lying, and he'd only asked Ty to stop taking his lunch money after catching him red-handed multiple times. Jake has become so quiet lately and apologizes for everything. He even asks permission to use the bathroom when he's at my house, which just breaks my heart. I've been writing down these behavioral changes because honestly, they're concerning. Oh, and Sharon has been asking me for loans more frequently. She says Ty needs expensive therapy and special tutoring and new clothes because he's finally feeling confident enough to care about his appearance. When I asked about their budget, she got defensive and said Alan doesn't understand Ty's needs. I feel like I'm going crazy here. I love both these boys so much, but it really seems like Jake is getting pushed aside while Ty faces zero consequences for increasingly bad behavior. Like Jake is always wrong and Ty is always the victim, no matter what actually happened. Am I totally overreacting? I feel torn between loyalty to my best friend and my growing concern for Jake's well-being. Maybe I don't understand the full situation, but watching a sweet 11-year-old get quieter and more anxious while his stuff gets destroyed and his money gets stolen, I don't know what to do. Anyone else been in a situation like this? I'm honestly at a loss. Now for the first update. Holy shit, you guys. I woke up to like 800 messages, and honestly, I needed every single one of them, because this situation has gotten so much worse than I ever imagined. Sorry this is going to be long again, but I really need advice on what to do next. First off, thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. I know some of you thought I was maybe overreacting or not seeing the full picture, but after reading all your responses, I started realizing this was way more serious than I wanted to admit. Like several people mentioned, that what I was describing sounded like Sharon treating the kids unfairly with money and showing obvious favorites. And honestly, yeah, you were right. So 3 weeks have passed since my original post and everything has basically exploded. Jake has been staying at my house almost every day after school because he says it's quieter, but I think the real reason is he feels safer here, which should have been a huge red flag for me, but I guess I was still trying to give Sharon the benefit of the doubt. Yesterday, Jake showed up at my door absolutely sobbing, like not just upset, completely broken down, crying. It took me like 20 minutes to get him calm enough to tell me what happened. Apparently, Ty stole $200 from Jake's dresser drawer. This was birthday money that Jake's grandparents, Alan's parents, had given him, and he was saving it to buy this really nice set of art supplies he'd been researching for months. But here's the thing. Jake had learned from all the lunch money incidents and the damaged homework stuff, so he'd hidden a small camera in his room after his things kept going missing. This time, he had actual video proof of Ty going through his dresser and taking the money. Jake came to me first, showed me the footage on his tablet, and I saved a copy on my device. Then, he took the tablet to Sharon to confront her. I know this sounds totally made up, but I swear Jake showed me the footage on his tablet, and it was crystal clear. You could see Ty's face and everything as he rifled through Jake's stuff and pocketed the cash. Like there was no question it was him or that he knew exactly what he was doing. So Jake takes this evidence to Sharon, thinking finally he'll have proof and she'll have to believe him. And guys, what happened next made me realize Sharon is way more aware of what's going on than I thought. Jake told me he approached Sharon super carefully, which breaks my heart. An 11-year-old shouldn't have to strategize how to report theft in his own home. He explained that Ty took his birthday money and said he had video proof. Sharon's face apparently went hard immediately when he mentioned the video. When Jake showed her the tablet, Sharon squinted at it and claimed the footage was unclear, even though you could literally see Ty's face. When Jake pointed out specific details proving it was Ty, Sharon completely changed tactics and accused Jake of setting traps to make Ty look bad. I mean, What? Your kid protects his money because it keeps getting stolen, and that makes him the problem. But wait, it gets worse. Ty walked into the room right then and immediately started crying and told Sharon that Jake had been bragging about his money and trying to make him feel bad for not having any. Sharon immediately comforted Ty and praised him for being honest about his feelings. Then she confiscated Jake's tablet until he learns to trust his brother. The same tablet with the evidence of the theft. Jake was telling me this, and I honestly wanted to drive over there and I don't even know. I was so angry I was shaking. But guys, it gets so much worse. I drove straight to Sharon's house because I needed to see this for myself. When I got there, Ty was in the living room wearing brand new wireless headphones that looked really expensive. When I asked him about them, he said Sharon bought them because he's been doing better in school. And when I asked what they cost, he said $200. Without even thinking about it. Then he realized what he'd said and tried to backtrack, but it was too late. The exact same amount as Jake's stolen birthday money. I pulled Sharon into the kitchen and confronted her about it. At first, she tried to claim it was just a coincidence and they'd already planned to buy Ty the headphones anyway. When I pointed out the timing and exact amount, she got defensive and said she has every right to buy Ty things. Then I asked her directly why she didn't believe Jake's video evidence, and you guys, she broke down, like completely fell apart and started admitting things I never expected. She said maybe she's been overprotective of Ty and that she sometimes buys him things when Jake gets money to keep things fair. Keep things fair. She was literally using Jake's stolen money to buy Ty presents to even the playing field. When I asked how that could possibly be fair, she got angry and said, I don't understand their family dynamics. She defended it as helping Ty not feel left out when Jake receives gifts or money. I realized in that moment that Sharon has been deliberately enabling this. Like she knows Ty is stealing from Jake and she's been rewarding him for it. But the worst part was when she explained why she thinks this is okay. Apparently, Ty told her weeks ago that Jake makes him feel bad for being adopted and that Jake gets things too easily because his real dad loves him. Sharon believed this completely, even though Jake has never said anything like that around me, and this kid tells me everything. She actually seemed surprised when I told her Jake has been at my house almost daily and said she was grateful, but thought it was because Jake likes having someone who doesn't understand his situation and doesn't expect him to be understanding of Ty's needs. Like she thinks I'm enabling Jake by treating him fairly. I can't even wrap my head around this logic. Then Alan came home from work and went straight to the garage like always. I followed him out there and found him just organizing the same tools over and over again. When I asked if he was okay, he completely broke down and admitted he's been sleeping in the garage because he can't watch this anymore, but doesn't know how to stop it. Guys, this man has been living in his garage to avoid watching his son get emotionally abused, and he feels helpless to stop it. The financial stuff is even worse than I thought. Sharon showed me her credit card statements, and in the last 3 months she spent over $3,000 on Ty. Clothes, games, therapy supplies, special tutoring, you name it. Jake's expenses were under $200 for the same period, and that was mostly school supplies. Sharon seemed genuinely shocked when I laid out the numbers like that, like she hadn't realized how extreme the disparity was. And the social media thing. Guys, I went through Sharon's Instagram after I got home, and it's honestly disturbing. Constant posts about Ty's therapy progress and their adoption journey, with all these inspirational quotes about healing trauma. But Jake literally doesn't exist in any family posts. When I brought this up, Sharon said Jake values his privacy and wouldn't want to be online. This kid who draws comic strips and loves showing off his art projects values privacy, right? Then I found out why there's been no family therapy. Sharon claims Ty's therapist advised against it because Jake's stability and confidence might make Ty feel more insecure about his place in the family. When I asked for the therapist's name to understand this recommendation better, Sharon got super evasive and changed the subject. I'm starting to think this therapist either doesn't exist or Sharon is lying about what they're recommending. The conversation ended with Sharon admitting that Alan has been questioning her financial priorities and parenting decisions, leading to daily arguments that Ty overhears and gets upset about. She said Alan threatened to take his son and leave if she doesn't get help, but she can't risk Ty feeling abandoned again. I left telling Sharon that Jake would stay with me until the situation improved, and she said that was probably best since Jake was adding stress to Ty's healing process. That was a week ago now. She basically admitted that Jake's presence in his own home is stressful for her and Ty. Let that sink in. But guys, the worst part was when I was leaving. Alan followed me outside and quietly asked if I thought Jake would be better off staying with me permanently. The way he said it, like he's already given up on fixing his family. I've had Jake for a week now, and he's like a different kid. He's not apologizing for everything. He's bringing out his art supplies again. He's actually laughing. But he keeps asking if he's too much trouble and if I'm sure it's okay for him to stay. This 11-year-old thinks he's a burden for existing in his own family. I feel completely overwhelmed by this responsibility, but I can't bear the thought of sending him back to that environment. Sharon texts me every day asking when Jake is coming home, but never asks how he's doing, just when he's coming back to make Ty feel better. I don't know what to do next. Do I call CPS? Do I help Alan figure out custody options? Do I just keep Jake here indefinitely and hope things somehow get better? I'm honestly scared I'm in over my head, but this kid deserves so much better than what he's been getting. Anyone been through something like this before? I really need advice on next steps. Information to add. I forgot to mention, Alan's parents, Jake's grandparents, have been asking why they haven't seen Jake lately, since he usually visits them every other weekend. When I told them what's been happening, they were horrified and said they've been worried about the family dynamics for months, but didn't want to interfere. They're willing to help however they can. To those asking about documenting everything, yes, I've been keeping detailed notes since my first post, including dates, what Jake tells me, photos of his damaged assignments, and screenshots of Sharon's social media posts. I also saved the video of Ty stealing the money on my own device before Sharon confiscated Jake's tablet. Someone asked about Ty's actual therapy progress. From what I can tell, he sees someone once a week, but Jake mentioned that Ty always comes home from appointments, talking about how his therapist agrees that Jake doesn't understand trauma and needs to be more patient, which seems like either the therapist is terrible or Ty is manipulating what gets reported back. For people wondering about Alan's custody rights, he's definitely Jake's biological father and was never married to Jake's mom, but he's been on the birth certificate since day one and has always had full custody. Sharon adopted Ty independently before they got married, so legally they should be on equal footing regarding their respective kids. A lot of people asked if I'm prepared for the possibility that Sharon might try to prevent Jake from staying with me. Honestly, I'm terrified about that. She keeps texting about how Jake belongs with family, but then admits he's causing stress for Ty. I'm looking into what my legal options might be, but I have no idea where to even start. Now for the second update. I can't believe I'm writing another update, but after reading all your comments on my last post, I realized you guys were right about documenting everything because, holy shit, this situation has gotten so much worse, and I'm honestly still processing what happened. So it's been like 8 weeks total now since Jake started staying at my house, and I thought maybe things would calm down or Sharon would actually try to fix things, but instead, everything just exploded in the worst possible way. During these past 2 weeks, Sharon kept texting me constantly, saying things were going to change and Ty was working on himself in therapy and asking when Jake was coming home. But at the same time, she's posting all these Instagram stories about their healing journey and trauma-informed parenting and how some people don't understand what adopted kids need, like clearly talking about me without actually tagging me. And she kept sending me photos of Ty looking all sad and saying he missed his brother, which honestly just pissed me off more, because where was this concern when Jake was getting his stuff stolen and destroyed every day? Alan started coming to visit Jake separately at my house, which was honestly really good for both of them. Jake would light up when his dad came over, and Alan looked less exhausted every time. I helped Alan research lawyers because he was finally ready to admit this whole situation was fucked up. The breaking point happened 3 weeks ago at their family holiday dinner. Jake had been begging me to go because he said it would be his last chance to have a normal family meal, and I couldn't say no. Alan had texted me privately that morning saying he was planning to tell Sharon about the divorce papers after dinner, so I knew it was going to be rough. You guys, what happened at that dinner was honestly the most manipulative thing I've ever witnessed in person. And the worst part is Sharon live-streamed parts of it on Instagram. When I got there, Sharon had spent the whole day setting everything up for her camera. She kept positioning herself so she looked good on camera and talking to her phone about their grateful growing family. I noticed Alan looked absolutely exhausted and kept checking his phone. Sharon kept trying to get him to move into the camera frame, but he just stayed where he was. You could tell he was done. But the gift opening, oh my God, the gift opening. That's when I realized Sharon had planned this whole thing as some kind of public performance. Sharon announces with this huge voice that it's time for special gifts and positions herself perfectly for the camera. Then she reveals that Ty is getting driving lessons for his 15th birthday, and they're buying him a used car because he's shown such incredible maturity this year. Ty starts literally screaming with excitement and jumping around the living room. Sharon is filming his reaction while narrating for social media about their special bond and how proud she is of his growth. Jake is just sitting there watching this happen, already looking resigned to whatever's coming next. Then Sharon hands Jake this tiny wrapped package while Ty gets actual car keys with a giant red bow. The contrast was so obvious, it hurt to watch. Jake opens his gift and it's a $25 Target gift card. $25. While Ty is unwrapping car keys and crying happy tears, Sharon is still filming Tyler's reaction and completely ignoring Jake's face falling. Jake doesn't say anything, just stares at the gift card in his hands. That's when Sharon looks directly at the camera and says some people just need to learn gratitude and tells Jake he should appreciate what he has instead of wanting what others get. And Ty? Fuck. Ty starts laughing and goes, "Yeah, Jake, don't be jealous." The live stream captured this entire humiliating moment. Sharon was broadcasting her son's public humiliation to hundreds of followers. I watched Alan's hands clench into fists under the table, and I realized this was deliberately planned for maximum impact. Sharon wanted people to see Jake being ungrateful so she could look like the patient martyr dealing with a difficult child. That's when I lost it. I stood up, looked directly at Jake, and told him to go pack whatever he wanted to keep, because he was coming home with me that night and staying as long as he wanted. Alan immediately stood up too and said, "I'll help you pack, son." Sharon's face went completely white. The Instagram live stream was still running. Then she started screaming that I was destroying their family and that I was teaching Jake to be ungrateful. Ty started crying and saying I was being mean to his mom and that Jake was his brother and belonged with them. Sharon's voice kept getting higher and more hysterical. She threatened to call the police for kidnapping while the live stream was still broadcasting everything. That's when Alan quietly interrupted all the chaos. He looked at Sharon and calmly told her he had filed for divorce that morning, that his lawyer would contact her, and that Jake was staying with me permanently. You guys, Sharon's face, I've never seen someone go that pale that fast, and she realized her public breakdown was being broadcast live to her followers. She frantically tried to end the live stream while still screaming, but I think it took her like 2 minutes to figure out how to stop it. Jake packed one small backpack in under 10 minutes. Everything he truly cared about fit in one bag, which honestly broke my heart all over again. Most of his stuff had been damaged or taken anyway. Alan hugged him goodbye and whispered, "I'm sorry I waited so long," and Jake just buried his face in his dad's shoulder. During the drive to my house, Jake told me things I never knew. Ty had been stealing his stuff for months beyond what I'd seen, and Sharon would always replace whatever got stolen or broken for Ty while telling Jake he was careless or making things up. That night, Sharon sent me like 47 text messages alternating between begging me to bring Jake back and accusing me of kidnapping him and brainwashing him against his family. She threatened to call police until I reminded her that I'm a mandated reporter with documented evidence, and Alan has full legal custody. It's been 3 weeks now, and Jake is like a completely different kid. He's laughing again. He brought out his comic strips, and last week he asked if he could call me Aunt Jean instead of by my first name. Alan visits every few days while he's staying in his new apartment. He told Jake he should have protected him sooner, and Jake said it was okay that his dad was protecting him now. Alan asked Jake if he wants to visit separately from Sharon and Ty, and Jake said he'd like weekend visits with his dad once everything calms down. But guys, there's been consequences I didn't expect. A colleague from Sharon's medical office told me confidentially that Sharon's supervisor saw the holiday live stream and is conducting a review because several patients' families complained after seeing the posts. Sharon's social media has gone completely silent except for reposting adoption awareness memes. Ty keeps calling from Sharon's phone, crying and apologizing. He says Sharon told him I stole his brother and begs Jake to come back so their family can be normal again. These calls are getting more manipulative each time, so I've been documenting them. Jake asked me last week if he can stay with me permanently. After talking with Alan and his lawyer, we're starting the legal process for me to become Jake's guardian while Alan retains parental rights. Jake told me he finally feels like someone chose him first instead of making him compete for love. Sharon sent me one final text saying she hopes I'm happy destroying a family and that Ty is falling apart without his brother. I replied that I didn't destroy anything, I just stopped enabling child abuse. Then I blocked her number. I know there's still uncertainties ahead with legal stuff and Alan's divorce and Jake healing from all this. And maybe eventually Ty will get the help he actually needs instead of being enabled. But for now, Jake is safe and starting to trust that someone will consistently put his well-being first. I can't believe this is my life now, but honestly I wouldn't change it. This kid deserves someone in his corner. Information to add. Since people keep asking about the live stream, yes, several people recorded it before Sharon deleted everything. Alan's lawyer has copies, and apparently it's going to be helpful for custody proceedings. Sharon's Instagram went from like 800 followers to under 200 in the past few weeks. To those wondering about Jake's grandparents, they've been amazing through all this. They had Jake for a weekend while Alan was apartment hunting and bought him a proper art desk for my place. They said they've been worried about the family situation for over a year, but didn't know how to help without making things worse. For people asking about my job situation with being Jake's guardian, my principal has been incredibly supportive. Apparently, they've dealt with similar emergency placements before and said as long as I complete the proper paperwork, there shouldn't be any issues. My coworkers have been bringing by clothes and school supplies for Jake, which has been so helpful. Someone mentioned documenting Ty's phone calls. Yes, I've been recording them because they're getting increasingly concerning. The latest one had Ty saying Sharon told him if Jake doesn't come back, they might have to give up because it's too hard without the whole family together. Using a 14-year-old to emotionally manipulate an 11-year-old is honestly disgusting.